I really don't think that any of them are scary. None of them are necessarily scary. Hey guys, it's Em and welcome back to my reading circle. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if you're returning, well, welcome back. So today I'm going to do a really fun Summerween Booktube tag. This was inspired by Gabby Reads and Olivia Reads a Latte. They're the two co-hosts for Summerween, which is essentially a readathon. This upcoming week, the first week of July, it's going from Friday, July 2nd through to Thursday, July 8th. That sounds about right. For the dates, I don't have my calendar pulled up just yet, but it is for those that are really missing spooky season. So essentially what we're going to be doing for a whole week is we're going to be reading and doing fun Halloween inspired activities, reading spooky books for a whole week in appreciation and anticipation for fall and Halloween. So horror books, thrillers, paranormal, all of that fun stuff. So this tag was actually created by none other than Little Ghost Creations, or Collen is her real name. So she's a booktuber here on YouTube, and she went ahead and created this tag. She had asked Gabby and Olivia for their blessing. They said yes, and when I watched it, I was like, man, it looks like so much fun. So I wanted to go ahead, give her credit, and do her tag because it sounded like such a fun opportunity, and I wanted to get a little bit more into the booktube community, so why not do a fun Summerween booktube tag? So I have my laptop here with all the questions geared up. I was going to use my iPad, and then when I went to go turn it on, it said that the battery was dead. So ain't no time like the present, am I right? So let's go ahead and get this ball rolling. There are 13 questions, and I'm going to give you hopefully 13 answers. I do want to go ahead and put a disclaimer though. I have not read a lot of horror specific or paranormal specific books. I have read a lot of thrillers, have dove into that realm, but then whenever it came to horror, I prefer to always watch it on the big screen, TV series, or a movie. So some of these questions, if I cannot think of a book, I'm gonna go ahead and respond with a movie or TV show. Anyways, here are the questions. So the first question, what spooky reads are you most excited about in your TBR list / pile right now? So there are several. I think that my most anticipated spooky book is going to be The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I have been really craving a slasher, campfire, horror type book. I want the setting to be at a camp. That's what I really want. And I don't know too much about The Last Time I Lied. Like I told you guys in my last video, I've been trying to get better about going in blind to books, but I do know that it is set at a campsite, so I'm really excited for that. I do have a few others, but that is my top of the list book that I want to go ahead and read. Question 2, what's your favorite revenge novel? So I'm not going to tell you guys my absolute favorite one, because the way that I see it is that is the whole premise of said book. Like, you don't know, is she doing this for revenge? Is she not doing this for revenge? And then at the end of the day, revenge is the whole reason that everything had happened in the book. So I'm going to be very vague about that because I don't want to spoil that. I did see another booktuber though. She went ahead and said Gone Girl was her favorite revenge novel. That was one I was not going to say because I didn't want to go ahead and potentially spoil it. But if you've watched the movie, read the book, you know that revenge is pretty obvious on both parties. So it's not necessarily like a spoiler. Everybody knows that Gone Girl is more or less revenge. It's just a matter of whose revenge, what's happening, what's the actual backstory. So I would go ahead and say probably my favorite revenge novel is Gone Girl. And then for a TV series, I really do like the TV series Revenge. It's older, it came out, I don't know, whenever I was in high school. So I have not finished watching it though, but I do love the aspect of it, kind of like girl getting revenge for her father's sake, and then kind of like a little bit like an assassin, a little bit having martial arts techniques, spy training, and then revenge on rich, wealthy people who basically left her in the dust to be an orphan. So highly recommend. I believe it's still on YouTube. Sorry, I believe it's still on Hulu, and I should probably go ahead and finish that because I really loved it. I just never got the chance to finish it. All right, question 3. What's a horror or thriller crime book you wish you could experience for the first time? Oh my gosh. Okay, so far I have not reread any of my thriller books, but I do have like a mental list of ones that I would love to reread because the shock value alone it got me. It was beautiful. Obviously Gone Girl, that was my first ever thriller book that I read, and it just holds a really special place in my heart. That is the book that jumpstarted me into reading thrillers. I used to never read thrillers. I would have never picked up a thriller because that scares me. So why would I subject myself to that? But because of Gone Girl, I've read so many other books that I do love, such as The Girl on the Train and also The Good Girl. I wouldn't mind experiencing those for the first time. I'm worried that if I do a reread, I will not like them as much, especially The Girl on the Train, because it's a little bit kind of police procedural if I am remembering correctly. I know that her second book, I believe it's Paula Hawkins, she wrote The Good Girl. She also wrote Into the Water. I don't need to reread that for the first time or experience that for the first time again. That definitely was a police procedural. I cannot remember if The Girl on the Train was or not, so it's obviously been a few years. Like I mentioned, The Good Girl by Mary Kubica, I would really enjoy that for rereading for the first time all over again. The ending just shook me to my core. Like, there was so much already going on, and then when you got to like the last couple of pages, and I believe it was the last line of that book, whoo, that was good. That was really good, Mary. You got me. You sold me on that one. Question 4. Oh no. Sucks to suck. You were just given a handful of your least favorite candy, the one that not even your siblings or friends will trade for. What candy is it, and what spooky book did you want to love that disappointed you? So I don't like Red Hots. I don't like hot, spicy cinnamon candy. I never have. It used to burn my tongue when I was little. Now I can kind of eat them, but they're not my favorite. So, and I know my brother would not trade with me. I know for a fact he would never trade with me. My boyfriend would probably trade with me. He does love cinnamon in general and spice, so he might trade with me. I actually don't know if he likes that. So if he doesn't, I guess that he's not trading with me either. But a book that I wanted to love but ended up disappointing me. I hate that I have to say this, but The Whisper Man by Alex North, that one just had so much potential, and for me, it fell short. Police procedural, just kind of like, I don't know how to describe it because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but basically, it fell short on my expectations, and this book is probably the whole reason why I'm no longer really going into books, knowing other people's ratings, knowing other people's reviews on it, knowing their general review. Yes, kind of want to read that. Knowing their rating though, ratings, like star ratings, are so subjective. My 5 is probably somebody's 3 and vice versa. So that one it didn't do it for me, did not hit the mark. Really upset about it, but try not to think about it because too soon. I literally read this like a few weeks ago, and it almost put me in a reading slump. So close. It literally almost put me in a reading slump. Colleen Hoover got me out of that reading slump. Sarah J. Maas is helping me, navigate what it's like to read again and love books with ACOTAR, because I'm finally reading that and I'm vlogging it. I'm trying to read all the books, but that's a different story, different video. Let's get back into the tag. Okay, question 5. Time to put your costume on. If you could exist in one spooky novel, which would it be? Who would your best friend be? See, like I said, here's the thing. I've read a lot of psychological thrillers and not that many horror books, which some people would say there's not that much of a difference. Like, there couldn't be a difference. So psychological thrillers are more like mind trips, mind games, versus horror. If you think of like a standard horror, slasher films, gore, jump scares, that's how I usually distinguish them in my brain. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and say I would be totally okay with existing in Home Before Dark, Riley Sager. That was my first ever horror book. I don't know if it's classified as horror or thriller, but regardless, I love that book. I might actually do a reread for Summerween because it was so good and it has the paranormal element, but I also would really enjoy being Maggie, the main character. I would be like totally down to be her best friend. Okay, Question 6. What's your favorite haunted house book and or television show? Obviously, book Home Before Dark. Another one that I'm planning on reading for Summerween is actually The Haunting on Hill House, I believe. That's the one by Shirley Jackson. It was on a Kindle deal like a month ago and I bought it, and then I decided I was going to read it for Summerween. So I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard that the TV series is completely different from the book because it's elevated, like the TV series is elevated from the book and the book is like kind of boring. But I'm a books before TV person, so I want to understand the background and the influence behind the TV show or movie depending on the book. But yeah, I am really interested in reading that one, and hopefully it's a good one. Question 7, the food question. Oh no. You can only pick one of each. So basically this is a would you rather. So the first one is, I'm so indecisive. Okay, the first one is chocolate or sour candy. I love both. Okay, here's the thing. I am not a sweets type of person. My brother loves sweets. My mom loves sweets. I'm like my dad. My dad and I like savory food. We're not like a huge sweet person. So even though I do love chocolate and I do love sour candy respectively, I think that if I had to choose, I would choose sour candy, just because depending on how chocolatey the chocolate is, it can be too overwhelming for me. But sour just like burn my tongue, you know? Like let me just eat so much that my tongue is like actually burning. It's fine, I got this. So yeah, I would go ahead and say sour candy. Oh my gosh, I just saw the second one. Okay, coffee or tea? Okay, this is, oh my gosh, and I just snuck a peek at the third one. Okay, this is so bad. So I love both. And anytime someone has ever made me choose between the two, I've never been able to choose because I love both. Growing up when I was really little, I had a lot of tea, and then I would occasionally have coffee. And once I got to senior year of undergrad, that's when I would like religiously drink coffee. Other than that, it was just a social thing that I would go with my friends, like on the way to the mall or on the way to walk somewhere. Like, let's just go grab a caramel macchiato or a random frappuccino from Starbucks. So I really do genuinely love both. And I have to choose. I will say, and this is the only deciding factor for me to make me be able to choose. I'm going to choose tea, because coffee stains your teeth and I want to get away from drinking coffee. Coffee is also more addictive than tea in my opinion because of the caffeine content, and I want to be able to scale back from that. I just haven't yet because I'm addicted to coffee because of the caffeine. So I'm going to choose tea because, or a lesser amount of caffeine, and then it's not going to stain my teeth because I don't want stained teeth from coffee as I drink coffee every single morning. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and choose tea. And then the third one, apple or pumpkin pie. So I love me some apple pie and I love me some pumpkin pie. We'll just say apple. And we're not gonna give a reasoning, even though I love both. I'm just indecisive. Question 8, show us your favorite book with a witch or a woman who gets screwed over by society and the patriarchy. Kind of awkward. I've not watched that many, or read that many for that matter, witch type books or women getting screwed over by society and the patriarchy. So I can't really answer this one. I don't have an answer to this one. Question 9, which book on your shelves or audiobook has the scariest book cover? Okay, so I don't really think that any of my books are scary. My audiobook is of my best friend's exorcism, and the physical copy of the book has a really scary picture. But then for the audio version, the audiobook, which is what I have, it's literally just like a high school like yearbook type photo, and I think that one of them might like look like they're being controlled by demons because it's my best friend's exorcism. None of them are necessarily really scary, and honestly that's probably why I don't read a lot of horror books, or why I never gravitated to them in the past, because I would see them and they would look scary and I'd be like, no. Okay, Home Before Dark, Riley Sager. So if you cannot tell, this is a chandelier that is swinging inside of the house, and any time that they talked about the chandelier, it gave me an unsettling feeling. You know, like it wasn't that I was necessarily scared, but anytime that she mentioned, she is in Maggie, or I guess her dad, because her dad, it's a dual point of view, dual timeline. Anytime that they talked about the chandelier, something was happening, and I was just like, this isn't like really that scary, but I know that if I were there, I would not be the happiest of campers. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this one solely for the fact of the scenes that happen with the actual chandelier. Question 10. It's Summerween and it's hot outside. What books do you recommend that give off summer vibes? Think lakes, cabins, beaches, etc. Whatever reminds you of summer. Is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. That one is set at a campsite. So yeah, it's set at a campsite. Like, tell me what more could you need like from this question? So yeah, question 11. You and your friends are exploring a well-known haunted house. First off, I would not be doing that. Could not pay me enough to do that. You get separated and suddenly you hear screaming coming from upstairs. You run into the next room and find two of your friends. Which two fictional characters are they? Who do you want in this situation with you? All right, well, first off, I would never be doing this because I'm not the type person to go to a haunted place. I've never been. Have I been to those like fun amusement park type like haunted houses? Yes, of course I have. Did I like them then? No. Am I going to an actual haunted place? No. But for the sake of the question, let's think of two fictional characters. So I think that I would choose the father from The Whisper Man, and I would choose Maggie in Before Dark, because both of them, even though I didn't like The Whisper Man, I feel like both of those two characters are very level-headed, and they were very level-headed in their respective books. You know, like they weren't the necessarily like, in my opinion, stupid character or stupid person to just be like, well, I don't know, let's go out of our way to like go here and like do this. Like they were thinking more rationally and more logically. So I think I would prefer to be with them. So then when I'm screaming and crying because I somehow got dragged into this place, at least I have two calming, level-headed people, best friends with me, to go ahead and keep me grounded. So I would go ahead and say them. Okay, question 12, trick or treat. Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, Mary Shelley, and Shirley Jackson are at your front door. Who do you give the best and biggest candy bar to? So, like I said, I haven't read any horror books, and I don't even know if I can classify Home Before Dark as horror. I did mention I am reading a Shirley Jackson this upcoming week for the Readathon. And if I remember correctly, Mary Shelley is the like original horror author. She wrote Frankenstein. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the biggest and best piece of candy to her, because without her, where would we be? We'd be living in a world with no Frankenstein. And I'm sorry, I grew up hearing about Frankenstein all the time. So like, you know, like it's like the big like fictional characters in the horror realm that like you've been hearing ever since you were super young. You know, like the big ones like Frankenstein and Dracula and a werewolf and a mummy, and there might be a fifth one, but I can't, or a ghost. Yeah, just like a random ghost. Not Casper though, like a scary ghost. But you can't have them without Frankenstein. So I'm gonna say Mary Shelley. All right, guys, and the last question that we have is question 13. What is your favorite spooky book to film adaptation where both of them are good? I'm gonna go ahead and say, and this is psychological thriller because once again, haven't read that many horror books, but I am gonna go ahead and say that I really did enjoy The Girl on the Train. I loved both adaptations, the one with Emily Blunt in there, because I'm pretty sure that there's a brand new adaptation with a brand new cast, and I have not watched that. I'm not planning on watching that, but I thought that that was so freaking, I thought it was so realistic, and I don't know if I can really say realistic, you know, but it was so freaking good. Like literally, they were like, okay, here's the book, let's basically make it into a movie. And there was only one detail, and it was so minor, and you would have had to have read the book fresh to remember that detail. There was only one detail that I was like, that didn't like actually like happen, or like this is a little bit exaggerated, but other than that, it was like spot on. Like here's the book on the like big screen. Like if the book was a projector onto a screen, that's what the movie was, because sometimes they just don't mesh. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that. All right, guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you guys want to go ahead and tell me your favorite spooky, scary books, please go ahead and put it down in the comments. I will go ahead and make a TBR, what am I planning on reading for Summerween video. That'll be up probably the first day of Summerween, because I do want to go ahead and put a video up that says like, hey, this is what I read this year, and I'm trying to get that done before July, so I have like a day or two to get that done. But yeah, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!